Good morning, everybody. It's Ben Jones, Monday morning, back here in the coffee workshop. Today, we're going to turn the camera a little bit more this way for a good start. On Friday, I pulled out the French press again. It's a brewer that I got into like in my early days of liking special and good coffee. But then I just stopped using it. For no good reason aside from the fact that I'm lazy and I don't like to. It's hard to clean out a French press here in the workshop as I don't have any running water. I use a lot of pour over brewers. I really like the Chemex specifically for its very thick paper filtration. Major contrast between the paper filtration and the metal filtration. This metal filter, it's going to let oils and fine particles of the fractured coffee beans pass through, and it's going to increase the texture and the body in the cup. Whereas the paper filter is going to absorb all that good stuff. It's going to hold back the oils, it's going to hold back those fine particles, and we're not going to get nearly as much texture. And the general rule is that if we increase texture from artifact, from oils, from fats, lipids, and particulate, we're going to be decreasing flavor clarity just because those particles will kind of block our flavor receptors and kind of mellow out our perceptions. On the flip side, removing those leaves us open to tasting a lot more clarity. I don't know when necessarily you would find yourself with a French press and a Chemex paper filter and not able to brew a French press or a Chemex, but for whatever reason, let's say that's the case, maybe you just only have your Chemex papers and your Chemex is otherwise engaged. Maybe you had lemonade in it or flowers, or sometimes they break. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to open up my Chemex filter as normal. I'm just going to insert that down there, and then I'm just going to fold that down, and we're just going to tuck it in there so that our filter is in the French press. A little rubber band. I'm just going to wrap that around just to help hold that down. This reminds me of the old Peanuts cartoon, the Christmas special one where they put the blankets over and become the shepherds. Little costuming. All right, so best practice is always to give a little rinse and preheat. So we're going to give a little rinse and a little preheat on this. I went ahead and measured out my coffee. Once again, I'm using the Columbia Las Brisas from Batdorf and Bronson Coffee Roasters just because I really like that. Particle size. This is the same grind that I would use for a regular Chemex. If you happen to get your coffee pre-ground for French press, that would work for you. Just pour a little more gently. All right, so now we have the problem of how to get this old water out of here. Well, we're just going to have to pull back one of these corners a little bit right where the spout is. Pour that water out. And then reestablish our rubber band. Fantastic. All right. It's not going to be as perfect as using a regular Chemex just because it doesn't support the filter quite in that same way, but it'll work. I happen to have done 25 grams, so let's put that in there. And we have our water. And then we just treat this like a pour over. And with any pour over brewing, anything where it drips through, we want to be sure to include a bloom cycle, meaning add roughly twice your mass of water bean to water. So if you did 25 grams, we're going to add about 50 grams of water. Let that water start to soak in. we want to give a chance for all those beans, those ground particles, to wake up, to be primed, to give up their flavors. If this was a standard French press, we wouldn't need to worry about that because the water isn't going to flow through, so the beans are ready to receive all that water as they sit. Bloom usually needs about 30 to 45 seconds. It's all about letting the gases escape, so the fresher your beans are, the more bloom you're going to want to use. As you approach a week, 2 weeks off roast date, less gas in those beans, depending, of course, on the bean itself, the roast profile, and how you store it. You can get away with a 20-second bloom sometimes, 30-second bloom. Just kind of watch when the drips stop coming. That's a great time to start. When you don't see any growth, any blooming in the coffee bed, I suppose in a pinch you could do this with a tall flower vase if you have a Chemex filter. You could probably use any kind of tall mixing bowl, maybe? I don't know, there's all kinds of like crazy things you can rubber band a Chemex filter around and so with 17 to 1 ratio that we typically like to play with, 25 grams coffee, 25 times 17 is going to be, let's see, for every 4 you get 100. There are 4 4s in 17 because there's the 16s. So it's 400 plus the extra 1 for the 17 gives us 25. 425 grams of water is my target. If I'm using 25 grams, that's good for a little more than 12 ounces of brewed coffee. You can get yourself probably about 16. We'd like to think about 30 grams of the water weighing 30 grams will give us about an ounce, or an ounce weighs about 30 grams. So I have 385 in here now. It's gonna give a little more. I want to be careful to not rise up too much because we don't have the air vent that we do, so I need to utilize some of the angle on the side here to allow air to escape so it doesn't choke out the brew. And if I give it just a tiny little splash more, 425 grams, and set that there. So this is a French press dressed up like a Charlie Brown shepherd for the Christmas pageant, using a Chemex filter. And we'll just let that continue to drip in, and we'll have ourselves a little bit of coffee here. I'm getting fairly impatient with it, so I'm going to take my mug. I'm going to give my mug a little preheat because I like it that way. These really thick, chunky ceramic diner style mugs, I'm a big fan of them. I just like the way they feel. Once you get them warm, they stay warm. That ceramic will hold heat, but it also will suck heat. So when I come out here in the morning and it's nice and cold, these are going to be cold, and it's going to make my coffee cold. So I have to give them a preheat. I love that feel of just holding like this, catching the aroma coming off of the coffee. Good little book. I'm just going to remove my rubber band. What I love about paper filtration, not just the flavor clarity, the easy cleanup. Take this and just put that into the compost, and that's set. I now have some nice, tasty coffee. Thanks all for joining today. Ben Jones with Batdorf and Bronson Coffee Roasters. Go check out our website, batdorfcoffee.com. We have all your coffee needs, and we got a whole bunch of really fun brewers, AeroPress, Chemex, French press, all that fun stuff. So, see you next time. Happy Monday.